Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be. Welcome back to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. Just before we get going, I can hear myself echoing. Lads, have any of you got the computer on or no?
No.
Right, okay, no problem. We shall carry on. In the comments, can you tell me if you can hear the echo? I hope you can't. But we're live anyway. How are you all? Welcome to you all that are in the chat box already. Goodness, some of you have been there since 7:56. I see the first one coming in. Mad for it, you are. Mad for it. Joining me this evening, of course, the regulars. Harry, how are you, sir?
Good, thank you, mate. Not too bad. How are you?
I'm all right, I suppose. I don't know. Lee, how are you?
Oh, I'm not good, mate. I'm not good after that yesterday. I've got to say, lots of worrying things, and yeah, I've had better weekends. I've got to say.
Yes, it wasn't great, was it? Before we get going, we've got a bit of a message. I don't know some of you who listen to the Clock End podcast. The host, Tez, has unfortunately fallen very ill, and his family have set up a GoFundMe page. Unfortunately, I haven't got the link to hand, but if you go to Twitter and go to the Clock End podcast, you will find the link there for the GoFundMe. I will put the link in the description afterwards. So if you're watching this on replay or if you're listening to this podcast on audio, the link will be in the description. So go over there and check it out. And obviously, we wish him all the best. We're rooting for him and hope he can pull through. Harry, let's start with you, mate. You have been telling us that Unai Emery isn't the man to manage Arsenal for a year, and you have been taking slaps, punches. You've been hounded by a lot of people. People are still telling me, "Oh, it's not the manager's fault," but it's not the manager's fault. We've already chatted, obviously, in the WhatsApp group. We all know why we can come back to the manager and blame him. But Harry, over to you, mate.
Look, I didn't want to be in the position where I'm sitting here, a year into Unai Emery's tenure and saying that I haven't seen any progress. But the reality is that's the case. And, people will talk about him not having the players. The 11 players have come in since Unai Emery joined. And you could argue that maybe he doesn't have the final say in all those transfers. But then something is fundamentally wrong at the club. The fact of the matter is this, right? Arsenal have not improved in the slightest. We're not as creative as we once were. We're poor defensively. We're getting worse and worse by the week. People talk about yesterday and they talk about, that Socrates' mistake was a catalyst for Watford getting back in the game, which I agree with. But ultimately, what Socrates has gone and done there is he's gone and followed his manager's instructions. Because I can tell you from watching that player for years for the Greek national team, it is not in his locker to try and play out from the back. There's an insistence from Unai Emery to play a certain way from the back that constantly puts us under pressure. And what happened there was a mistake that has been waiting to happen for ages. We sit here every week, we talk about Granit Xhaka. At times, I've defended him. I've defended him a lot because I still believe that he's probably better than some of the other shit we've got. But the fact is, if you don't like Granit Xhaka and you're going to sit here every week and slag off Granit Xhaka, then you also have to slag off the man that picks him every week and the man that's made him the captain. And I bet you any money you like this week, we're going to hear an announcement saying that that Granit Xhaka is Arsenal's captain. So what does that tell you about the manager? We change shape every week. It's a shambles. Nobody knows what they're doing. The substitutions yesterday in particular made no sense. I've heard people talk about his substitutions in the past and what a tactical genius he is. When you're losing a game and you bring on a striker, that's not a tactical genius. That's common fucking sense. Sorry for my language. But I've just had enough of it because for months now, we've been watching the same crap. And anyone who says, "Oh, people are being knee jerk because we drew with Watford," that's not the case. These problems stemmed from last season, from halfway through last season. And towards the end of the season, it turned into a complete disaster, complete shit show. And these issues have carried over. We spent £72 million on a player. Whether we paid it up front or not is neither here nor there. £72 million worth of transfers was available for Arsenal. And what did he go and do? He went and signed a winger when we haven't even got a decent centre-half in our squad. Now, it's just a mess from the top to the bottom. Unai Emery is not the man. He hasn't got the charisma. He hasn't got the character. He's tactically an absolute mess. He doesn't even know what he's trying to do. How are his players supposed to understand? He takes players off because they're hot. He's an absolute mess for me. And he's a second-rate manager. People talk about his tenure at Sevilla. Yeah, he done all right at Sevilla, but there's no real expectation there. This is Arsenal Football Club. We're one of the biggest football clubs in the world. And if he thinks that he's going to have a free ride here with no scrutiny, then sorry, mate, that's not going to be the case. And I just want to say that I'm not pleased to see Unai Emery failing. That's not the case at all. I'm an Arsenal fan like everyone else. But my God, I don't know why it's taken some people so long to see that we've got no shape, no defensive clue, and we're just a mess. We've not come anywhere under Unai Emery.
It's hard to disagree with you, mate. It really is. I mean, I've sat here week after week after week and I've defended him, give him, I mean, I even said last week that I'd give him another go if he didn't get us in the top 4 this season. But that was because I didn't, that performance on Sunday now has just spun me, it's just spun me right round. 2-0 up, cruising. And we played some lovely stuff. The second goal was beautiful. Watford were coming on very strong to us all the time, but we looked like we were coping. But as soon as they get one back, you knew what was going to happen, and it was. And if I was showing that to someone, you wouldn't have questioned, only because you'd have known from the kit whether it was an Arsene Wenger team or an Unai Emery team. I mean, I'm lying in bed last night thinking to myself, why in God's name did we hand out Arsene Wenger? Because nothing's gone better, has it, Lee?
No. Look, listen, I've wanted Emery to succeed. I know what Harry's saying. He definitely wanted Emery to see, but he see it. To be honest, I've had my doubts. I've spoken to Harry about it. Over the last few weeks, I've seen things that have been festering, I suppose, that have worried me. The Liverpool game, I understand his tactics for what he was trying to do, but it was all completely wrong. What I seen yesterday was probably the most embarrassing 45 minutes of me being an Arsenal fan for I don't know how long. I don't know how long I've been embarrassed. I'll tell you what, it was as bad as Crystal Palace away when we lost 3 or 4-0. Do you remember that a few seasons ago? And it was as bad as that. But you have to look at it. 27 shots they had at us second half. 45 minutes of football, 27 shots. Watford, bottom of the league. This is not Barcelona we're playing, Real Madrid or Manchester City. It's Watford. What has gone wrong? I watched it yesterday and you have to ask yourself a few questions. I looked at the lineup and I thought, he's taking a gamble there. He's put in Ceballos and Ozil on an away fixture against Watford where it's very, very physical. I thought that was a mistake, but in saying that, I felt that in the first half that it worked. We're 2-0 up, so you can't criticise it. But our best player, by a long, long way in this football club at the minute, is a lone player from Real Madrid in Ceballos. He was absolutely brilliant in that first half, keeping the ball. But he's basically been shoehorned into a position which is not where we're going to get the very, very best out of him. He kept the ball and kept it ticking, but he was put over onto that left-hand side to cater for Mesut Ozil. Now, I believe that Mesut Ozil gets a lot of stick. I didn't think he was that bad yesterday. I've got to say that. I didn't think he was, he wasn't one of the reasons we lost that game. But when I look at Ceballos totally dominating and getting hold of the game by the scruff of the neck, do you imagine if Mesut Ozil was doing that as well? What a difference it would be. But he does it in flashes. He's not that sort of player. I get that. So if he's not that sort of player, you look at it and you say, right, where's my one decision that I've got to make? Who am I going to have as my playmaker? and it's going to have to be either Ceballos or Mesut Ozil, and he tries to fit both in. And when we play at home, we don't do that. So that's the first thing I'm looking at. The second thing I'm looking at, Granit Xhaka is getting untold stick, all right? But as Harry has said on more than one occasion, which I have agreed with, if you're playing a diamond formation, he doesn't suit a diamond formation. So now we're playing players into a system that doesn't suit. Not only are we trying to shoehorn and cater for other players, we're now putting in a player that doesn't fit that system. And I look at it, and he was all over the shop yesterday. He was just not quite right, you know. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, right, okay, you're 2-0 up and you've done well, you know, it's gone well. Then the catastrophic errors that we continue to make. Now, I'm not saying that whatever you do, but Unai Emery's 2-0 up. And in the first half, Guendouzi got caught out on the ball, could have easily have been a goal against him. So what is your half-time tactic? If that was me as a manager, I'd go, Glad's done great first half. We abandon that playing out of the back now because the risk, the reward is not worth the risk, right? We're 2-0 up. So we just play over the long, and we do that, right? Oh no. We continue to keep doing it and getting away with it on a couple of occasions before we actually get done, you know. And then from that moment on, the substitutions yesterday were absolutely scandalous. Now, I'll tell you why they're scandalous, because he brings on Torreira, right? I think, right, takes off Ceballos, right? Now, he takes off our best player. He's injured, must be injured, or he's not well or whatever. No, he comes out in the press conference and says because it was too hot. That just is unbelievable. Am I listening to the right sort of stuff here? Anyway, he takes him off. He then takes off Mesut Ozil to shore up the threat of them scoring. They then just keep continually having shots after shots after shots. So not only have we took our two players off that can hold the ball and keep the ball, we've lost that, and then they're smashing in shot after shot after shot. And then have a look at the equaliser, boys. Torreira has been brought on, I think, to shore things up. He is having a shot just outside the 6-yard box, and from that shot, which goes straight to the goalkeeper, 3 passes later, they've got a penalty. What is going on? And Emery has let this happen. And then I look at it, and I have to say this now. I watched 2 of the most experienced people. I seen Nelson come on and was, you know, just brushed aside. Didn't have a great game, you know.
Awful.
It was awful, you know. He's not ready yet. We can see that, right? I look at it, and you have to say that Mesut Ozil has come off. I've done okay. Experienced player. He took off Ceballos. Experienced player. Put on some young players. You know, willing workers. I've got to say that, you know. But then I've seen our experienced players, our 2 central defenders, Socrates make mistake after mistake after mistake, still in the team, and David Luiz doing exactly the same, done it again yesterday. And then I see Kolasinac, right? And if you have a look at him on Match of the Day, he doesn't get tight, he doesn't stop crosses or whatever like that he done. And he's then having a go at a young kid for not doing his job. I think it's absolutely disgusting. I really say, like, you know, I just cannot believe what I was seeing there. Like, you know, I have to say, I watched Emery for the last 10 minutes of that game. He just stood there. Now, when we was winning 2-0, his arms are going here, we're push here, we're push there. When it mattered, with the last 10 minutes of the game, when they're all running over us, he just stood there, looked like a lost sheep, you know. And before people start going on about Mesut Ozil and things like that, like, you know, I mean, I'm not saying that he had a great game yesterday. I'm just saying he done okay. He wasn't the worst player on that football pitch, you know. And I have to say that I'm going to say this now. If Mustafi was making the mistakes of Socrates and David Luiz, what would be happening with him? He'd be absolutely getting slaughtered, right? So them 2 there are sitting in the dressing room and going, "Gorg, old Shaq's getting it, isn't he?" They must be loving it because he's taking all the flack for it while they're getting away with it. And I'm sorry, I'm calling them out and all. Them two need to be dropped. The two central defenders need to be dropped. I don't, Emery. And the biggest thing is everybody, and there's a lot of Emery lovers out there that are all sticking up for Emery and slagging off areas they've done, right? Yeah, are all slagging off Granit Xhaka, saying that he's not this, he's that, and he's that. So my argument to them is, if that's how you feel, why are you letting the manager you're defending is making Xhaka play week in, week out, and as captain? So you can't have it both ways, lads. You can't, you know what I mean, say it both ways. And this is what's going on. And for me, yes, I don't see how Emery can turn that around. That's my fear. That's what I said. I think he's on thin ice. I don't see how he can turn around a performance when a team at the bottom of the league can just rain in shots like that and run all over you like that. I don't see how you can bounce back from it. I don't see what he's going to do. That's how I feel about it. I'm not saying that he should be sacked at the moment, but what I'm saying that's got to happen is he's got to make some big, tough decisions. And if he doesn't, I'm going to jump onto Harry's camp and certainly be there. And I will say this now, if Allegri is available and prepared to come now, I think we've got to be ruthless and do that. Because I don't think the way things are going and the way I've seen things from the last 8 games of last season, the diabolical embarrassment of the Europa League final, which seems to be brushed aside, that, and also what I'm seeing in these last 5 games, it's not a knee-jerk reaction, right, of it's only 5 games. It goes deeper than that, boys, deeper. Right now, if he doesn't make these decisions, right, I think that he's going to have to go, and I don't think the way he's playing the team, the way he's set up, that we are going to get into the top 4. Let alone the top 4, we're mid-table to bottom of the league form side at the moment. Sorry, I went on.
No, you didn't. That's not. Don't need to apologise at all, mate. Harry, I'm looking at it. I'm trying to look at it both ways. I'm saying that a defensive Kolasinac, Socrates, Luiz, and can't even remember who plays right. Can't even remember who plays right back for us now. Maitland-Niles, right? Do we have to say, right, okay, it's not good at the moment, right? But I'm going to say, right, I'm going to throw you a lifeline now. When Tierney, Chambers, Holding, and Bellerin come back in, on paper, it might not sound better, but I think it will be better. Do we have to sit back and go, okay, let's get Tierney in, let's get Holding back, let's perhaps bring Chambers in, Bellerin's going to be raring to go. Do we need the football? Do we need the Tierneys and the Bellerins to play the football that Unai Emery wants to play?
In my opinion, it doesn't matter who the personnel are, because as a team, in terms of our shape and our setup, we are all over the shop. And defending is not just about the back 4. You've seen, we talk about that stat. You know, there was a stat that we've conceded, I think it's 14 goals from individual errors that led to goals under Unai Emery. But we've also, and that's fair enough, that the individual errors do play a part. But we've also conceded the most shots, which tells you that teams are getting joy against us. Our defensive problem is, that the back 4 are not good enough, but often it's a problem that starts from the midfield. And like Lee's pointed out, that time when Watford broke and Torreira's caught up the pitch, the gap between our midfield and defence is too big. And ultimately, when you're a striker with a bit of pace and you're running directly at someone and you isolate them, they've got it all to lose and you've got it all to gain. And that's what happened with the David Luiz situation. He's stupid to make that challenge. Of course he is. But I think you've got to look at what's gone on before that to understand where Arsenal's problems are. And, the diamond midfield, for example, what does that mean? It means that one player is at the foot of it, which is Granit Xhaka. And then you've got once they get past Ceballos, they get past Ozil, it's Granit Xhaka is asked to cover the entire width of the pitch, because often our fullbacks are pushed up as well. And it's just not sustainable. You cannot defend like that. Now, with Unai Emery, when he came in, I understood that he didn't necessarily have all the players he wanted. I think he brought in 5 players or something in the first summer. Fair enough. But what I wanted to see was a coach who could get Arsenal into a shape, into knowing what they're doing. You can't have plan B and C when you don't have plan A in the first place. And this is kind of my issue with Emery. We've never had a way of playing that is our uniform go-to way of playing, and then made adaptations to it. It just changes from week to week. The players don't know what they're doing. You're asking people to do jobs that are unnatural to them. The coaching is missing. That's lacking. And he's bought 11 players now. And for me, there's been no improvement. If anything, defensively, we're looking worse and worse. So that tells me that it doesn't matter how much money you give this manager or what transfers you sanction, he ain't going to be able to sort out our defensive issues. And there's lots of examples in his career where he's had the same troubles. I'm not going to go into them now. We've spoken about them before. But for me, when I was saying in January that I wouldn't go and give Unai Emery a massive amount of money, I wouldn't spend a massive amount of money on players, because I don't think that Unai Emery is going to be there long. And if you we have spent some money now, not as much as people think, because we recuperated a hell of a lot of it. And as always, Arsenal pulled the wool over lots of people's eyes and made them think it was a great window when it really wasn't. But the point is, now we're stuck with another bunch of players that are not fit for purpose. Another bunch of players that the next manager probably isn't going to want. So that's why I wouldn't have made the investment in Unai Emery. I would have got to the summer, I would have reevaluated things and seen that, have I seen what I wanted to see in the first season? Now, I don't argue with those people that said he deserves a second season, because I see where you're coming from, of course. But over the course of this season, I can guarantee everybody that's listening to this podcast now that come the end of the season, we will still be talking about Arsenal's defensive flaws. And it doesn't matter what players he's got. It doesn't matter what you give him. He doesn't know how to set up a team to defend. Maybe he can't get his ideas across. I don't know what it is, but we're just hearing whispers of people being unhappy, not understanding. Aubameyang's going on TV talking about how we give away goals. Now, that says it all about even how the players are feeling about the defensive strength of this side. There is none whatsoever. And I fear that whatever you give Unai Emery in terms of transfer funds, whatever group of players you give him, until he settles on a system that people know inside out, work on every day in training, then you're going to continue to see these same troubles over and over again.
31 shots against us. I believe that's a record for Arsenal. Correct me if I'm wrong. 31 shots against us. And 31 shots for Watford is a Premier League record for them since they've been playing Premier League football. They've never had 31 shots. You can go back. I've got a good one here as well. This comes from a good mate of mine on Twitter, Sean, at Arsenal Reviewed. If you're not following him, go and follow him, because I tell you what a Twitter account. It is absolutely brilliant. Arsenal under Unai Emery, most errors leading to goals in the Premier League. Only 6 teams have kept fewer clean sheets. Conceded the most shots on goal in Europe this season. That's since the Premier League started. Arsenal have conceded most shots on goal in all of the European leagues. We're the first team to concede 4 goals in a Europa UEFA Cup final since Middlesbrough in 2006. Shambles. Lee.
Well, you can't argue the stats. I will say that a couple of things there. That, sometimes you can, if you're a good defensive side, you can allow teams to shoot from distance and things like that, so they get shots off, but they're classed as a shot, but like they're from 30 yards. So I'd imagine that a few of those shots were
good point.
over not that insufficient, but in saying that, they still opened us up.
The shot was there again. Yeah.
But there are times as a defensive unit, if you can make a team shoot from 30 yards, you'd take that as a good bit of defensive play. That's how I was taught anyway. The worrying thing for me is Harry's just turned around there and said that Unai Emery can't defend set up a defensive system or whatever. Like, you know, now I can tell you, I've done my coaching badges. Any coach will tell you it's easier to coach a defensive unit than it is an attacking unit. Now, if he cannot get it right on a defensive unit, then we're struggling, because any decent coach can set up a plan and work on instructions and put up sets, patterns of play, put up all those sorts of things for a defensive unit. It's so much harder to do attacking. Now, Arsene Wenger got it right by his attacking side of it, like, you know, better than anybody else. But unfortunately, he couldn't do a defensive one, which is mind-boggling. But he was more worried about the attacking side of the game. Now, Unai Emery has sorted out one thing from Arsenal, and this is where it has been a positive, is our set pieces. I think we've conceded one corner from since he's been here, or one or two corners. I think 2 corners it is now. Where we was conceding corners left, right and centre a few years before that. So there are things that he can do. But when you look at it there, I honestly don't think that if you've got a real top class centre half in at this team at the moment, and a couple of good left backs and right backs, if your defensive midfield shape is not right in front of them, you will get exposed and you then will get torn apart. Now, Tony Adams, Steve Bold, Sol Campbell, probably Martin Keown, you'd have to mention in that there, 3 or 4 of the best central defenders that I've ever seen at Arsenal. Right? Who did they have in front of them? They had a Vieira and a Gilberto. Now, put a Vieira and a Gilberto in front of that back 4 that we've got. We might see a little bit of difference, but we're not going to see that difference when you've got no one in there. We are 2-1 up with 9 minutes to go. We've got 5 players bombing on. Where's the game management from somebody to turn around and say, hold on a minute here, please keep our shape? When I played football, you know, I wasn't even a professional footballer, but we're playing a game 10 minutes to go from the end. If I went bombing on, the player would turn around and say, "Oi, keep your shape, don't move. We keep what we've got." That was one of the things that was a big saying when I played football. We take what we've got. We keep what we've got. We've got that now. We take it. Even if we lost and conceded in the last minute, we'll say, "All right, okay, we'll take the point now." It just doesn't seem to be any game management of any sort. Now, what is a big worrying thing for me as well, coming to think about it, was if you have a look in the last minute of that, we had Reece Nelson bombing on, we had Willock bombing on, we had Aubameyang bombing on, and Pepe bombing on. We lost the ball, right? Yeah, well, I think that was when Decore went through. 4 players walking back. 2 of them were subs.
Yeah,
Haven't got the energy to get back. Now, where is your noddle to turn around and say, right, we're winning 2-1 here. I haven't really got the energy to get back. So do you know what? I won't go bloody forward. But there's none of it. You know, the game management of our players is shocking. Now I look at it, and if I was a midfield player, and this is why there's a lot of semi-professional players, I can tell you this now, that used to want to play on a Sunday morning, because when you played on a Saturday, you weren't allowed to turn inside your box or take on players in certain areas. You was told that's your job, that's what you do, and you do it. So when you thought, oh, that's you know, what if I go out with my mates on a Sunday, I can take on 3 players, no one's going to give me a rollicking, you know what I mean, or anything like that. And that's what players done, right? So if I got the ball and I started sprinting down the line with 1 minute to go and we're 1-0 up, my manager would have grabbed hold of me and pulled me back in. Why isn't this manager doing that? Why are they not doing it? Why are they letting this go on? And what baffles me is it isn't going to be Granit Xhaka that's going to be sacked or Torreira is going to be sacked. It's going to be Unai Emery. Now, I don't know about you. I don't see this with other. I don't see, because I go to the games. So you're going to have to enlighten me this, because I don't watch the games like on Sky and all that, like, you know. But when I see substitutions on teams, I see them getting out bits of paper and they're telling them what to do. Like, you do this and you do that and all that, like, you know. Right? Are Arsenal doing that with Torreira, going, right, you go here, I don't see that.
No.
And then all of a sudden, right, he goes onto the pitch, right, with the instruction. I am sure, if as I've got no ear, I'm sure, right, that he is told, when you go out there, I want you to block off. I want you to block off the right hand side. Don't want you going forward and all that. Within 2 minutes, boys, he's bombing forward as a right winger. Where's the discipline of the man? And everybody goes, "Oh, Terrell,
it's no problem, Harry. No problem. Thanks very much for
Thanks
joining
a lot,
us,
guys.
Have a nice
Harry.
evening.
No,
cheers, guys. Sorry, guys.
So so you look at it there, Craig. Where and people keep saying, "Oh, we've got to play him at the base of the spot. He's got to be the holding midfield player." He's got no discipline, Craig. He's got no self-discipline. You know
why is Terrera not starting? This is what I know.
I think on this game, I think this is another thing. We were saying this in the pub on Sunday. I believe that because he's been travelling halfway around the world, it's an easy option to leave him out. An easy option to say, "Oh, right, I'll leave Terrera out for this one." Because if he brings Terrera in, who's he going to leave out? He's got to either leave out Xhaka or he's got to leave out Guendouzi. Now, Guendouzi was the star player at Tottenham, so he can't leave him out. Xhaka's his captain, so he can't leave him out. So what he does is he says, "Oh, you've been all around the world and all that, so I'll give you the break on this one." You know, what is he going to do next game at Aston Villa? Are we going to play the same that same shape? He's got to make a couple of decisions, Craig. One of them being big decisions, because he's put himself in a real hole with Ozil because he's brought him back. You know, so does he leave him out? Now if you're Mesut Ozil, right, you haven't played that bad, you haven't played that good, but you leave him out, for instance, right? You can go, right, you left out Mesut. So he's going to go, what? Well, you ain't played well. Oh, well, nor is the two central defenders. But they're playing every week. You know, we've kept one clean sheet all season, Craig.
But is this central defensive thing? I mean, he's had to play Socrates, and he's had to play. Well, he's had to play Luiz as well, hasn't he? Who else is there? Well, who else is there?
I'll say this now.
Holding and Chambers are out. I'm not sticking up for him. I'm just saying Holding and Chambers are out.
Why is Chambers out?
It's either Mustafi.
Why is Chambers out?
Chambers was injured for a little while, wasn't he?
No,
wasn't he injured for a couple of weeks?
Been on the bench. One's clean sheet against Newcastle, right? Yeah. People said, "Oh, it's only Newcastle," right? Newcastle have scored in every single game since they played us. They've gone to Spurs and scored. They've gone to Liverpool and scored. They've scored in every game.
He does the simple things right. That's why I want him in the team.
We've kept one clean sheet, and Chambers is left out, and we've brought in Luiz. And since then, we've conceded goal after goal. 7 goals in our last 3 games, Craig. That tells you...
2 of them being penalties.
2 of them being penalties, but that tells you...
that he gave away, that Luiz gave away.
Yeah, he gave away. That tells you that an Arsenal team, to get at least a point, they've got to score 2 goals. You ain't... It's you know, you can have all your statistics and everything up there. It ain't good. The maths don't work. If you get 2 goals, you know, you're not going to win. You might win, you know, 1 or 2, but you know, you're going to get 2-2 draws like we've got there. You know, he has got to sort out a defence. You know, people are now turning around, Craig, and saying, "Oh, he's going to go back to a back 3." Well, maybe he's going to have to. You know, I mean, shore it up that way. Bring in another central defender.
He's got to do something.
He's got to do something.
He's got to do. And like you say, the Villa game this week. I mean, I was speaking to Chris Hudson in the DMs there today, and I was saying to Chris, like, he's got a big thing in front of him here now, Aston Villa. And I said to Chris, I said, I hope you don't mind me talking about this, but I said to Chris, I can't see Emery being here by Christmas. And Chris said to me, Christmas will be too late.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I agree with him. You know, I've spoke to Chris this morning as well, and other people as well. People are saying, "I'll give him till Christmas, give him till next season." If it carries on as it is at this moment in time, him picking the teams that he is and the formations that he's picking, right? Christmas we'd be out of the top 4 race. You know what I mean? We'd have too much to do. Craig, you have to ask yourself a question. You know what I mean? Anybody, can feel free to come in and all that. We played Spurs last game out with a diamond formation. They run all over us, right? We changed that formation when Ceballos came on. We put Ceballos in the hole and we played two holding midfielders. Xhaka all of a sudden from being the worst player on the pitch become half decent. And I can't remember who else was. And Guendouzi played really, really well, right? And we then absolutely run all over Spurs. We absolutely annihilate. Talking to three of my Spurs mates today at work, like, you know what I mean? But they're not mates, I know them. Right? They turned around and said we was glad, we was hanging on. We ripped Tottenham to shreds. They even said that today, ripped them to shreds. Tottenham are a very, very good side. So what's he do in the next game? Instead of keeping that sort of same system, he keeps the Diamonds team system again, and we get run all over by Watford. What?
I can see why he might do that. I think he's a manager that likes to keep the opposition guessing. But saying that, by keeping his opposition guessing, he's keeping his players guessing.
Well,
about what they've got to do.
This is it. There were rumours that players saying that they don't really know what they're doing, and when you look at it, I watched it yesterday. It doesn't look like they know what they're doing. But look, listen, a lot of fans have said, giving Emery, me and you included, let's forget about give him a free run last season. I'm one of them. Make your mistakes, right? Learn from those mistakes and put it right this season. The mistakes he was making last season, Craig, with team formation, tinkering with the team, i.e. Crystal Palace last season, which dropped us points, going to Wolves and getting run all over there. Right, you've learnt your mistakes, right? We said it out. We're not going to make those mistakes again. But here we are now, 5 games into the season. He's continually making the same mistakes that he did last season. So he's not learning from those mistakes. Now, that is my biggest beef with him now. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's my biggest worry. You're not learning from your mistakes, your team selections. People turn around and criticise him last season because he made substitutions and the ones that weren't quite with Emery, he's made those substitutions because the team didn't work in the first place. Right? So you can argue that fact. But the fact of the matter is now, Craig, he's picking the team, he's making the changes, and they're not happening. So, he's not getting the team right in the first place, and then he's bringing his changes in, and they're not working. Now, people saying to me that we've had a fantastic win and we've got better players. I think we're a worse team than what we was last year. I can't. Can you tell me? Can you seriously say that Arsenal at this moment in time, the way things are at this moment in time, are capable of a 22-game unbeaten run?
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. Now, people are saying, when Holding comes back and all that, but I'm praying that this is where these Europa League games are going to become good, because let's hope that Holding gets a good 90 minutes under his belt here, and then I don't think that he'd be ready to play another 90 minutes on the Sunday. You've got to be very careful with these players now that we don't over bring them and they have hamstring injuries and things like that. Hopefully he gets through that game. Then he's got to come through the Norwich game to be available, I think, for a Man United game, or after the international break, then we're going to see the proper Rob Holding. So I don't think you're going to see Rob Holding, Bellerin, Tierney for at least 3 or 4 more weeks before you can turn around and say, right, yeah, they're nailed on for places in this team. So we've got to go another 4 weeks with this shambolic defending that we've got now. I honestly think that if Socrates is playing on Sunday against Aston Villa, I might even walk out, Craig, because he does not deserve to be playing in an Arsenal team. He's a very, very lucky boy.
Would you rather Mustafi in there than him?
Do you know what? No, I put Chambers in there. I'd keep David Luiz in there, and do you know what? I bring Mustafi in at right back, because I nothing against Maitland-Niles. They targeted him yesterday, Craig.
They did.
They targeted him. You know what I mean? They see him as a weak link. I get why they see him as a weak link. people keep telling me, oh, he's not a right back, or oh, blah, 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 blah. Lauren wasn't a right back. You know what I mean? He was a midfield player when he came to Arsenal, was turned in to a right back, and a bloody decent one for Arsenal by Arsene Wenger. Admittedly, he had good players around him, but I also think it was mentality with Lauren. He looked at it and thought, you know what?
Here's my chance.
I can't get into this midfield with Vieira, Gilberto, Edu. I'm not going to get in Lundberg, Perez. But I've got a chance of being a right back and staying in this team. I've got a little feeling that Maitland-Niles is having a little look around and going, do you know what? I think I fancy I could get into this midfield. So I don't really want to make this right back position my own.
Lads, thank you very much for the people who have kindly donated this evening. I've seen them, but I wanted to scroll back to your questions because I now want to ask the questions, but now I can't get back to them. So, Bill, Guna, Russ, can you put your questions back into the comment box, please? Because I want to ask the questions. Lee, let's go over to the questions. Let's see what the lads are saying here in the comment box. Let's have a look here now. Yeah, this one from Tony. Look, I can't stand that the players make mistakes but don't get any repercussions. Now, obviously talking about David Luiz, obviously talking about Socrates, obviously talking about Granit Xhaka, etc., etc. Now, what do you make of Granit Xhaka saying yesterday? I may have taken it out of context. I don't know. People telling me that I am, but the captain of Arsenal Football Club done an interview yesterday and told the interviewer that we were scared of Watford. What do you make of that?
Well, it's not good. You know what I mean? Like we're Arsenal Football Club. We shouldn't be scared of anybody. Now, when we was, great side and all that, we wasn't scared of anybody. But, this is a bottom of the league side. I don't think he was actually saying we're scared of the team. I think he was just scared that players were scared to get on the ball, do this and do that. And I think that, the confidence of the player is what he meant to a certain degree. But that's a big, big worry if you're not confident on the ball and things like that. Scared to take the ball in areas that are got a little bit with a risk. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of players don't get the credit for that, Craig, of coming and getting the ball in a risk area and popping it off and not losing it and all that. But people like Vieira, people like Gilberto done that with an ease and don't probably get the Roy Keane, another one, probably don't get the praise that they deserve for it, because I can say that when it's in that area, you've got to have a good first touch, you've got to be confident, and you've got to be able to pass the ball. So I think that maybe he was talking a little bit about himself. He's lost a little bit of confidence. But what frustrates me a little bit about that is, all right, he said that, but Uri Emery turns around and says, I'll take Ceballos off because it was too hot. And everybody jumps on Xhaka. I do feel that there is listen, Craig, you've followed Arsenal as a long, long time. They're always, every time he made a mistake yesterday, they were howling for him in the stands yesterday. Absolutely howling.
Well, I think that's wrong. And look, we can see here
frustrations it is, but the point I'm trying to make, Arsenal have always had players like that. Going back to Paul Davis when he first got into the Arsenal team, to Gus Caesar, to
or Oldie Boué.
Boué, whoops-a-daisy, Martin Hazy, they used to say, like, you know what I mean? So it's not just a thing that's happened since the internet's come on out. It's been with Arsenal a very, very long time, and you have to have a certain thing to get through. Mickey Thomas, Arsenal's biggest goal scorer in Arsenal's history, got a stick when he first came into the side, because I think he was playing right back, if I remember rightly, and they put him into midfield, and he was a little bit, they've all had it. You know what I mean? Ian Wright got it when he first come to the club because some fans didn't want him in there, believe it or not. A lot of Arsenal players had it, but you've got to be big enough and strong enough to be able to come over that. And it's a worry when your captain's turning around and saying, I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little bit this, and I think
Yeah,
it's,
I
it won't.
don't want to, I don't want to single him out. I was just, using the subject. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not a very good thing to be sending. It's not a very good question. It's not a very good signal to be sending out to the rest of the players. I don't think, to be standing in front of someone saying that you were scared. I think singling out Granit Xhaka is wrong. We can all we can sit here and we can talk about Granit Xhaka's mistakes, but there's a lot of other players that are making as many mistakes as Granit Xhaka. I mean,
exactly. Socrates is making.
Yeah,
Socrates
is getting a little bit of a free run because he's come
without
out.
a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. He ain't getting it from me, Craig, because I watch him week in, week out.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing, right, is yes, Granit Xhaka made the mistake against Tottenham for the penalty, but his was just as bad in the foot. I know it's hard for Arsenal fans, but go back and have a look at that goal against Tottenham, right? If that was Granit Xhaka, everybody would be going mad. First of all, he loses the header, right? And then he watches Eriksen just go past him to tap it in. That's a quality defender, is it? One, he can't win his headers. And then yesterday, look, he hasn't done that deliberately, Craig. We know that.
Yeah.
It's just not good enough.
Yeah.
It's not good enough.
A professional footballer shouldn't be making that mistake.
No.
But then it comes back. Then it comes back again to he's only doing what the manager's told him to do. This one comes in from Danny the GFP. Good evening to you, sir. And he says, "Does this prove that the problem wasn't Mustafi after all?"
Listen, Mustafi has made those sort of errors as well, and I agree with everything there. He would be less prone to make mistakes if he had a better defensive cover. You can say that about a goalkeeper as well. You know what I mean? Leno wouldn't make so many mistakes if he wasn't being peppered every 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like these things, he doesn't get the protection that he deserves, and the defence doesn't get the protection. Look, if you've got a weak player in your team, do you know what? There's this guy. We've all played Sunday morning football. Yeah, we've all done it with your mates and everybody. And one of your great mates isn't quite good as everybody else, right? You stick him at right back or left back or whatever, and you protect him so that he don't get, you'd say to so-and-so, just, stick in there today, protect Craig's playing today at left back, we'll protect him, do you know what I mean? We've got to protect him, so that's what we do, what we do, right?
Okay, so catch me playing left back.
So that's what you do. So if you've got, Emery knows that his central defenders are weak, right? He knows that. Protect them. Put Torreira in there. If it means you have to lose Xhaka or you have to lose Guendouzi or whatever, that's what you have to do. Yeah. Protect them, keep clean sheets. That's all I'm saying.
Get the result.
Yeah. So Mustafi's been hung out to dry. I agree with Danny, and the same with Socrates and David Luiz.
This one comes in from 95 Winston. Why does he insist on us playing out of the back? Surely he can see that we're bad at it. That was my biggest question yesterday when that goal was scored. Why does he continually do this playing out from the back when we've seen from last season, Lee, when Petr Cech nearly put it in his own net? I forget who that was against, but he nearly put it in his own goal. It's been happening all last year. We've come into the new season now, and he still seems to want to play this stupid out the back. Again,
because he's not learning from his mistakes, Craig. You know what I mean? It's good playing from the back. The game's changed a little bit because now you can just tap it to the 6-yard box, and you've got what would be seen as a little bit of extra time. And if you've got players that can do it, it can work. But and I'm going to say this, on certain occasions in the past, and even on Sunday, it did work. But you're 2-0 up. You don't need it to work no more, Craig. You've done your job. We're 2-0 up. But he still persists on it. Now, this is a manager that's going to take us to the massive heights, is he? With that basis. Now, I'm pretty sure, Pep Guardiola didn't carry on doing it. You know what I mean? After they lost to Norwich, they missed the press. Horses, I keep saying horses for courses, but sometimes you need to do it, other times you don't. And we're 2-0 up in a game. Why persist? Is it arrogance? We used to say that about Arsene Wenger, that, he's arrogant. You know what I mean? Is it an arrogance from this manager as well? I don't know.
Here's a good one from Lee coming in. We're talking about making decisions for Aston Villa. With our defence so bad, is it time to put David Luiz into centre midfield and bring in Chambers? David Luiz being a good passer of the ball. It's a good point.
Wouldn't be too bad about that. I think, though, if I'll be honest, David Luiz is better than Socrates. You know what I mean? If I'll be honest, I think that maybe Chambers could go in there. He was Player of the Year for Fulham last season, doing that role as well. But yeah, the only thing with that, Lee, is if you put David Luiz into that position, it means that Socrates has to play again. And I don't want to see him playing for Arsenal. I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him there. I'm sorry, So for me, it's a no, because it means Socrates is going to carry on playing central defence. This
is the one that came in from Bill. Thanks for your kind donation, Bill. Thank you very much. Highly appreciated.
Nice car he's got, though.
Yeah, perhaps that's why he keeps donating to us.
Yeah, I hope it's a good donation.
Yeah, it was a bloody good one. We'll eat like kings for a month.
We'll eat like kings
for a month, not a week. I said Emery has had 2 pre-seasons, 1 full season, then this season. He still doesn't know his best side or how to play. He cannot organise the team or a style of play. It's time to go.
Listen,
it's hard to disagree, isn't it?
I can't disagree with that. I will say that maybe he don't know his best defence yet, because it's been hampered a little bit. But I will say that he doesn't know his best midfield, and it's been a long. All the midfield players are available, but he doesn't know his best midfield at this moment in time. That is a big worry for me. Maybe he's got, obviously Lacazette's not playing at the moment, so you don't know what he's going to be there. But for me, not to have, he's got all these midfield players available, and it seems to be confusing him, Craig. So I would go along with that. He certainly doesn't know his best midfield, and he's been here long enough to, I think, to know his best midfield. So that is a big worry. Is it time to go? It's a big call, that. I think maybe within the next 2 games, I think we're going to know, Craig, if I'll be honest.
It's massive. His next 2 games are massive.
Yeah, forget about Frankfurt, because he's going to play different...
next 2 league games. What is it? Villa and Man United.
Yeah. I think if he loses both of them... it's a hard thing to say.
If he doesn't get us 4 points... If you don't get 4 points,
I think we should be 4 points.
No disrespect to Aston Villa. We should be beating Aston Villa.
Which is not going to be easy, because I've seen him in a couple of games.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, but with the players that we've got, we should have been beating Watford. We should be beating Watford. We should have beat Spurs.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating, and if he gets a draw, if we draw against Villa, Villa have been a little bogey team to us in the past at the Emirates. Yeah. Beating us on the first day of the season, come down and getting draws. I remember I was at an Aston Villa game, Bon Lahore put them 1-0 up, and Radzicki equalised in the last minute to rescue us a draw.
I think one of our first games at the Emirates was 1-1.
Didn't they beat 1-1? Yeah,
first ever game at the Emirates.
That's right.
What was his name? Oleg, or I can't remember. Someone put it in the chat who scored. They scored from an header, and I think we got a free kick or something.
The last time we played them at home, we drew 0-0. So that was actually the day I was supposed to come over, but my dad was ill. Remember, we drew 0-0. Ozil scored. We got disallowed. 0-0 draw.
I think we beat them on the season they got relegated. 3 or 4-0 last game of the season. I remember.
Was that Villa?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was.
I thought the last time. Anyway,
what I'm saying, it's not going to be easy. And then, which is very, very harsh on a manager to say, if you don't win or draw at Man United, you're going to get sacked, because that's a very, very difficult place to go. Listen, we haven't won there for, I can't remember the last time.
9 seasons, I think.
Is it I remember we get over the last few years a draw when Oxlade-Chamberlain put a cross in for Oliver Giroud with the last.
Should have beat him last year.
2-2.
Horrible defending. 3-3, wasn't it?
Yeah. Was it? I think it's 2-2. Your memory's going, Craig. Like, I mean,
I thought it was 3-3.
I think it's 2-2. I think. I know. I remember that game that we were still celebrating.
Yeah, that's right. And they went up the other
and
end and
they scored.
equalised.
You know what I mean? So, but I do believe that if listen, I said this yesterday, and I say it now, right? You know, Chelsea, Man United, and Tottenham are supposed to be in disarray for one reason or the other, right? Yeah, and they're all, they're all above us at the moment.
Yeah,
so
it's not good.
Here's a worry.
Russ brought this one in. Thanks for the donation, Russ. Very much indeed. We highly appreciate it. I said that Torreira
Russ has donated, has he?
Oh, he did, yeah.
Oh,
he always does. He always does.
He's a good lad. He bought me a drink yesterday, so I'm not knocking him.
Well, I'm keeping that one then. I'm keeping this donation. That's mine then. I said that Torreira is a CDM and he's never behind the ball. And I heard he was bored with the CDM role. If so, should we sell him and get a proper CDM in?
Bye-bye.
I added that bit on the end.
Yeah.
Good old
Bye-bye. Simple as that. If you don't want to play and don't want to play the position,
if he doesn't want to play where he's been, yeah. See you later. Yeah, I'm off that and always.
And it's a fantastic point he makes here, Russ. He's supposed to be in front of the ball, and he's right. He's always behind the ball, like, you know what I mean. As for that second goal, their penalty, he's not doing. I go back to when Coquelin played at the club. Coquelin was probably fantastic doing that in front of the back four, shielding the back four for about 6 months to a year. And then all of a sudden, I see him popping up in our 6-yard box.
Here's a question for you then. Is Francis Coquelin better than Granit Xhaka?
In a defensive role, I think that Coquelin, when he first came into the team, was better than Torreira in that position.
Better than both?
In that holding position, yeah. But then he didn't do it, Craig.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he was bombing forward.
That's right,
do you know what I mean? And not doing the job. And I've got to say, when Torreira first came into the side, he was doing that job. There was a couple of times also he played on the right-hand side and he was, he was protecting Maitland-Niles at times and done a really good job. I remember him going to Spurs and playing a very, really good position role there, doing that. He doesn't do it no more.
No.
He's bombing forward, All right, every now and then you're entitled to bomb forward, like he did against Spurs in the league last season. You get a goal. Holding midfielders score goals. It does happen every now and then, but priority there is to shield and cover the back four. I've been watching a thing with Roy Keane the other day. Like, I mean, I don't know if you've seen it on the ball thing with Gary Neville. That is why Manchester United won so many things, because they had somebody like him that would not let standards drop from himself to anybody else. And the trouble is, Craig, with Arsenal, over the last 10 years, we've allowed our standards to drop and drop and drop. And there's no one in the club that's like a Roy Keane to say, I'm not having this. I'm not having this.
This one comes in for Luke. If Emery was to leave, would November be the best time? Do you know what? It nearly would, because November's our worst bloody month, isn't it?
Well, you've got the international break as well in November.
Yeah.
So you've got one in October, one in November. That's why I'm saying that this is a key games against Manchester United, because if they don't win them, they may think, we'll get somebody in from then. I don't think the club can afford to let it roll and just go, we'll keep with Emery, and if we don't get into the top four, we don't get it. If they've got an opportunity to get someone, they will.
I will try. I'm just flicking through these questions, mate, because I'm afraid I'm going to lose them. When they get to the top of the page, I lose them. I can't get back to them. Karen says, did you get to meet Saliba?
No, I didn't. I knew he was there. There was rumours going about it. He was there. I think Johnny Short met him, and there was a few guys that did, but I didn't see him. And unbelievable, he had the brightest yellow top on. So if someone would have said he was,
I thought it was Troops.
But it definitely wasn't him. I never got to meet him. But I think that's great that people have sort of said, on radio, what's he doing in the away end? I think it's great that he went in the away end. And a lot of players do it. And he probably didn't think he was going to get recognised, but he did.
He certainly did. Here we go now. I've gone down here now because I don't want to lose them. Here we go. This is from Michael. Thank you very much, Michael, for your kind donation. So thank you. Why do we always bottle it when the other teams around us win? Spurs, Man United and Chelsea all won this weekend. We always crumble under pressure. Now, that's been a thing. That's been going on for seasons. That has. We sit here and we watch a 12:30 kickoff and Tottenham will drop points, and then we'll watch a 3 o'clock kickoff and Chelsea will drop points, and then we'll get to the 5:30 Arsenal at home to Swansea City to go second in the league, and we get beat.
Yeah, definitely definitely a mentality problem at the football club. And that's
how many times have we seen it? How many times have we seen it at the Emirates Stadium where we need to get a result? I mean, actually, I've said Swansea City there. Was it a couple of years ago? 4 or 5 years ago? It could have been. We needed to beat Swansea, I think, to go top of the league, and we lost. I can't remember the exact score, but I know we lost because I remember doing this. I remember doing a Gooner Talk show after it. It's something that has haunted us, Lee, for a while.
Yeah, and I think that's a mentality thing.
Let's have a look at this one. This one comes in from Kevin Matthews. Xhaka is the only player in the midfield with discipline in terms of playing his role. But he got no support because the players are leaving him alone to defend.
Well, listen,
interesting.
I don't agree with that. Somebody else said about Xhaka in the chat just there. I was just reading it saying that it's Xhaka's all right on the ball, but it's when we ain't got the ball. Let's get this straight. When Arsenal have not got the ball, we are the worst team in the league when we haven't got the ball. The worst. That's not just Xhaka. That's the whole bloody lot of them. They're not good enough. You know what I mean? So when they keep blaming Xhaka, I'm not going to have that. They're all poor off the ball. That's from our defending side. When I look at the two fullbacks, don't get tight enough to their players to stop crosses coming in. The forwards don't get tight. The midfield's a shambles. From Torreira not being disciplined enough, Xhaka not being able to do it. There's a difference between being disciplined and not able. He can't get across the park as quick as Torreira or the other guys, Willock and those sort of guys. But when Arsenal have not got the ball, they are shambolic.
Mm-hmm. Will, playing football, if Emery was to leave during this season, would you accept Ljungberg until the end of the season?
Why is everybody saying it's Freddie Ljungberg now, then? What's the difference between him and Steve Bold?
Yeah, exactly.
Steve Bold was sitting there last season. The same mistakes are happening now with Freddie. You know what I mean? It's nothing to do. It's nothing to do with Steve Bold. It's nothing to do with Freddie Ljungberg. Would I give the job to Freddie Ljungberg if there's nobody else? But I'm pretty sure there's other people out there that can do the job. This just not go on great player that played for Arsenal back in the day. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, listen, Steve Bold was a fantastic footballer for Arsenal. Don't anybody ever tell me that he wasn't. Put his body on the line, defended. Do you think he's accept what's going on at that team at the moment? No. But for whatever reasons, not allowed to do what he's done, what he's done in the past. So, for me, Steve Bold must be sitting at home laughing, if I'll be honest, thinking are they going to still blame me for all this crap defending? Because nothing's changed with him going out of the coaching staff to Freddie Ljungberg coming in there. So I'm not having that. I'm not having it.
Should Xhaka be strapped to the captaincy after saying we were scared in the second half? Personally, I think so, as it's an insult to Tony Adams, Martin Keown and Patrick Vieira, etc. Well, he hasn't really been named captain yet, has he? No. I think Mr. Emery is naming 5 captains this week.
Well, he'll have a bloody hard job doing that.
He's got a bloody hard job, hasn't he? Who's the 5? Leno, Maitland-Niles, Aubameyang, Lacazette, and sure. Might as well give it to. Might as well give put Nikita on there as well, just in case he comes back.
Craig, I'm telling you that now. Granit Xhaka isn't the captain. The only reason he's captain at the moment, and listen, let's not kid yourself. Every game he started, he's been captain. Okay, he's not been captain on one game. That was the game against Burnley when he didn't play. The reason he's
move your mic up there, mate. It's rubbing off your top.
The reason that he's made captain is because there's no bloody one else. There ain't no one. So for me, I'd have to say, I would have to say, well, I don't know. He ain't a captain material. Come on, let's face it. Like, you know what I mean. But there isn't a captain, and that's the reason why it's happening. So for me, no, I don't think he should be stripped of it because he shouldn't be having it in the bloody first place.
Thank you, Vartan, for your kind donation. Thank you very much, sir. Should Arsenal break the bank for Decore?
I'd love to see him at Arsenal. He's the sort of player,
the
sort of player that Arsenal are crying out for in midfield. And you don't have to break the bank for him. Sell Torreira, because if you don't want to play in that role, and bring in somebody like him that can. The trouble is now, the difficult, if it is 10, 15 years ago, if Decore was at Watford, you'd be able to get him quite easily. But now these teams don't have to sell. So what they will sell, but they will sell for a big price. And unfortunately, Arsenal are not in that market to buy big players. You know, listen, like Pepe, I think, you know, is not probably Arsenal's first choice, but the reason they got him is because they could get him on instalments. Watford are not going to say, here, you can have Decore on instalments. We give them their training ground, by the way. You think they'd do us a favour, wouldn't you? But no, I don't think they will.
This one comes in from Luke. Thank you very much, Luke. Would a modern defensive style of play work for Arsenal? I don't think so, because like Harry said, it's the people doing the job, I think, as much as the tactics. Like I said when Harry was there. Now I've stuck up for Emery. Everyone knows that I've stuck up for Emery, but yesterday has made me think different. But I'm still willing to see if a revamped defence is going to make any difference. I'm not saying it's going to, because Bellerin might not be half the player he was before he got injured. Holding might not be. Yeah, Holding might not be half the defender he was before he got injured. So I'm up for giving. I mean, for everything as bad as it is at the back, I'm up for giving that formation a go. Tierney, Chambers, Holding, Bellerin, because they can't do much worse than what's going on now. Surely.
No, I agree. I think that we've got to look for that. That's the only thing we're looking forward to from a defensive point of view. Would you imagine if this was a defence and we had these players not to come back, we'd be in a bit of a worry, like, you know. So looking forward to seeing Danny at Villa, and Olive Milberg was the player that scored. So well done, Danny.
Olive Milberg,
good call. Good call.
That's the big Viking.
The first goal scorer at the Emirates.
It was a big.
He was the first goal scorer at the Emirates.
It was a big Viking-looking dude. He was, wasn't he?
Yeah, beard.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
Big sort of defender we could do with now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, mate. We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. Would you believe?
We're
gonna have to stop it there, I'm afraid, because I've got to go and do daddy duties and stuff like that. Just a bit of a shout out there to Sunny TV. I was on Sunny's channel last night and we done a mental health special. So go over there and have a look at it on Sunny TV Unfiltered. We spoke about mental health for an hour. I shared some stories about my struggle with mental health and how I've got better, etc. I won't bore you with the details. If you want to watch it, go over to Sunny's channel. And give it a watch. If you were late to the podcast this evening, we got some bad news, obviously, coming from a podcast, an Arsenal podcast as well. Tez, who is involved with the Clock End podcast, unfortunately has fallen very ill. There will be a link in the description. If you're watching this on replay, there will be a link in the description. If you're listening to it on audio, there will also be a link in the description to the GoFundMe page that has been set up by his family. If you want to go over and check it out, please do. And as I said at the start of the show, obviously our thoughts are with him and his family at the moment, and we hope he pulls through. We're all rooting for you. Thanks very much to everyone who's been watching. Over 350 of you at peak. Absolutely mad figures. Thank you very much indeed. My thanks to Harry. Unfortunately, he had to scoot off because he had to do daddy daycare duties, daddy daycare duties as well. And of course, My right-hand man, Mr. Judges. Where would I be without you, mate?
Thank you very much. So just want to say quick to Karen. She's going on holiday for a couple of weeks, so have a lovely time on holiday wherever you're going, Karen. Like, so she's not going to be about for a couple of weeks. So
no, I doubt
holidays.
that. I doubt that. I reckon, Karen, I know you'll still be watching.
Happy holidays.
I know.
Thanks, Will, for that lovely comment you just put in the chat as well. Thanks for that.
Oh, what's that one then?
Saying it was the best Arsenal fan TV interview that he's seen. So that was really nice.
Well, he obviously doesn't watch every day then. He's the best. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks to us if you're watching this on replay. Thanks if you're listening on audio. We appreciate every single one of you. The figures this season already have been brilliant. We're getting over 10,000 listens across all platforms every week. Massive. I can remember when I started thinking about this podcast in my bedroom. Didn't have any clue that we'd get 10,000 listens per week. Do you know what we might do 1 week? Do you know what we might do 1 week, Lee? I think the next interlude, what we'll do is, it was me, you, Gooner Bradders, and Mems, wasn't it, on the first one? It was. We'll have to get us four back on there again.
Yeah, do something like that. If you haven't seen it or listened to our first ones, new listeners, go back and check it out, because the first ones they were actual audio ones, and they were quite funny, if you remember rightly. Probably didn't get as much views and listening views as they probably deserve, because they were, it was all new. It was new. It was just. I think a little bit of a difference to what it was now, but they were good times, weren't they?
They were. I was a bit nervous, you see. Hang on.
Who's Luke? Well, yeah. Do you know what? I'm going to have to agree with you. He's a very, very good host. He's a better host than he is left back.
Thank you, Luke. Thanks very much indeed, mate. I appreciate that comment. Yeah, I remember it was because I'd given up the Gooner talk, and I was very nervous about getting into another one. And I said to myself, I don't know if I want to do this, And it's worked out well.
At first, wasn't I? Do you remember? It was you and Mems
right.
done it first, and you asked me to just come on as a guest, and then asked me to just, if I would be a regular guest on it. I think I've done 2 of the first 3, and then I come on it.
Then you got made co-host. Not bad.
Co-host, yeah. So
we need to do. Yeah, look at this from Luke. We need to do a special for episode 100 in the pipeline.
We are looking to do that. Something. I'm looking to. There's something in the pipeline. Fingers crossed.
If we pull it off, massive.
Yeah.
Trust me.
If we pull it off, right, yeah.
Craig is a much better captain of this ship than Xhaka is Arsenal.
Very true. Good leader is our Craig. He keeps us all in check. So
Danny, the YouTube ones only go back to show 16. That's right, mate. 15 audio podcasts before that on SoundCloud. They're all on SoundCloud, or they're all on Spotify, or they're all on iTunes. So 15 audio shows only that we did.
We did 15.
15, yeah.
The first 15 were
re-upload the shows before 16. I can't, because they're audio. So there's no video to upload. I could, I suppose, upload the audio, but I don't like doing that. Having audio playing on a blank screen, I don't like doing that.
Yeah, if you can go on SoundCloud, then you can get them, because listen, guys, they're worth a listen. You know what I mean? I'm not just saying that.
There's actually one of them. I'm not too sure what one it was, but Mems went for a shit halfway through it. His voice, you could
all echo, didn't it? Like?
Yeah, and then it just everything went to echo, like he was in a toilet. And I actually asked him, was he in the toilet? And of course, he said, no, I've just. But then when we finished, I said, you were, weren't you? And he said, yeah. So I think Mike from Gooners in the USA reckons that was one of the best podcast moments ever that he's had. Oh, look, there you go.
Thank you very much, Glenn.
Yeah, we'll get that in there. We'll get that in there. It's been an absolute pleasure spending our evening with you all. Thanks very much for the support.
I
Like
feel
the
a little
video.
bit happier now, Craig, than I did before I come on.
A bit of therapy, Lee.
A bit of therapy was required. A bit of Arsenal therapy was required, like, you know.
A bit of therapy. Okay. It's done now. Let's look to Villa.
Let's move on. Frankfurt first. The Frankfurters first.
Well, yeah, all right. Frankfurt's first, but I don't give a fuck about the
Big game.
If I'm going to be honest,
getting 90 minutes. Big game.
If I'm going to be honest with myself, that's what it's for this year.
Yeah.
Bringing in some players.
What I mean? Getting a bit of experience, getting some game time. People like Nelson getting some game time, which will help him into the Premier League. And but that's it there. But Sunday, Villa, big game.
Big game, massive game. Until we will see you all next Monday. Hopefully we'll be talking about a win, and hopefully we'll be talking about a Xhaka masterclass, along with an Aubameyang masterclass, along with a tactical masterclass. Let's hope so. Until then, take care of each other. Up the Arsenal.
Come you Gunners.